Hi there, and welcome to the Homestead Education Podcast. Do you have a homestead, farm, or just dream of a rural life? This is a show to help you and your kids grow your own food and grow as a person. I'm your host, Kody Hanner. I'm a homesteader, homeschool mom of six, and small town enthusiast. I was raised by an old school rancher and blessed by the grace of God to have been exposed to so much of what rural life has to offer. Join me every week to talk about homesteading, homeschooling, and growth with a homestead education. Merry Christmas and welcome back. I just want to remind you that you can get all of my homestead science books on my website and many on Amazon for a new way of teaching agriculture to today's youth and aspiring homesteaders by focusing on small-scale farming and self-sufficiency. If you're a school, co-op, or retailer and need invoicing, please feel free to reach out to me directly. This also includes my newest products, Homestead Trivia and Raising Self-Sufficient Kids. And don't forget, I offer gift cards now. It's a great gift for any homeschooler or homesteader in your life. So today we're going to be talking about a homestead Christmas. Just want to give you my farm and homestead updates for the week. So we are getting ready to start farrowing, which is when all of our pigs have their babies. One of our biggest incomes for the year is show pigs for our local area. And so in order for us to have show pigs, they have to be born after the first of the year for whatever year that they're being shown in, but they really need to be as close to like the first as possible so that they have enough time to grow out by our early August fair. I mean, that's like really pushing it. So there's actually a lot of kids that don't make weight locally. So you really have to have pigs that they were born early, good genetics, and good feed, and like really push them. So we put our boar in, we do live cover. So we put our boar in just a couple days before what would make January 1st babies, just to give them like a day to be together. Like sometimes that activates the sow's heat being back near the boar and stuff. Um, so based on my calculations, the earliest anybody could be due is December 30th. Hopefully they're not, but you know. um, so in the fall, we had torn down all of our farrowing crates because we'd had them up for about 4 years. We'd built them ourselves out of like wooden hog panels, like wood framed hog panels. And we had some big sows that had busted through some. The mud had gotten really deep around some, so they weren't as high. And so we were having pigs getting out and stuff. So a few months ago, me and the kids, the teenagers, we went out there and we took all the farrowing crates out. And then my husband came in with a mini excavator and scraped everything flat. And then life got busy. And the other day I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, we have pigs due. I mean, literally today's the 24th. I mean, happy Christmas Eve, Merry Christmas Eve. And I mean, we have Christmas coming, and then pigs could be due anytime. I mean, yeah, I should have a whole nother week, but I mean, that doesn't feel like safe to me, I guess. So, the kids and I went up there a few days ago and we rebuilt the front of like where we have our farrowing crates. It's a strip in between like our chicken coop and chutes, like cattle chutes, and like our farm office. So I don't know. I just added it the other day. I don't know. It's 50 feet long or something and about 12 feet wide. And then I have that broke down into smaller pins, but you can walk into the front from like our barnyard and you can go out the back into what we call general pop, which is where we keep all of our sows. So when they're ready to farrow, I can just come bring them in through that gate into their pins. So we had taken the front off to be able to get the excavator in there. So that was the first thing we did is we put the front back up because I figured worst case scenario, if I have a pig go into labor, I at least have a pin to put her in. It's going to be a 50 by 12 pin, but at least she'll have a pin and she'll be separate from the other sows and out of the weather and those types of things. So we got that done. Here in a couple days, we're probably going to go back up and finish. Unfortunately, it's that time of year where my husband ends up on call and he's been working 12-hour shifts for several days now. He's taking Christmas off, which basically means his boss and his wife are doing like a 48-hour shift almost. And then I guess 36 hour shift. And then my husband's going to go back and take over. So it's been pretty crazy, like, because we don't always expect him to get called in. And then all of a sudden he gets called in. And we had plans like he was going to help us with the farrowing crates. He was going to help with the boys while I did the Christmas shopping. And I'm kind of like scrambling to try to run both of our businesses, get the farrowing crates ready. We're, finishing up the website to ship our pork, trying to do Christmas, trying to get the house clean, trying to bake. I literally feel like I'm losing my mind. And then to kind of top that off, I was Christmas shopping with my daughter a few days ago. We'd left my teenage son and the younger boys home. And so, any of you who have met my daughter on the road or have heard me talk about her, like this girl runs our business. Like she is so on top of it. She's well compensated, but I mean, sometimes I can't always like afford to pay her until um orders come in and or we get an invoice from a big school or something. And she's so just, it doesn't matter, like she travels all over the country with me. She's so easy to travel with. It doesn't matter what disappointment she faces, her answer is just always like, it's okay, we'll make it work. And I mean, she's just so rolls with the punches and is very understanding like that. I mean, even to the point that, so my bank account got flagged for fraud last week, which is super fun. I heard like it's been happening a lot this holiday season. And she, sorry, so it got flagged for fraud. And so it shut down my card and locked some of my funds. And so even though I was getting orders, I couldn't access my funds. And so we were trying to make Christmas happen on, like, I was selling pigs. I was selling some of my doTERRA stuff, which I mean, I'm a doTERRA essential oil representative, but I don't push it a lot. Like I just kind of keep it on hand in my store. I sell it like through my website and stuff, but I was posting that for sale online locally and I was getting some sales there. We sold some pork. We sold two boars that we'd been holding on to see like if it was, we had a few, we were deciding which one was going to be a replacement for us. And so we sold the two that we weren't going to keep. And it's just been, I was able to have enough cash to go Christmas shopping. But my daughter and I went to Walmart and we get everything, and I'm adding as I go. And we get up there, and one of the things I had was like way more expensive than I thought it was. And there was a few like odds and ends we'd thrown in the cart just to make Christmas happen right. And it was way more than I could afford. Not that I didn't have the money. I didn't have, I physically like didn't have the money because I'm having to work strictly in cash right now. And so I saw like I had the big bag of like chocolate oranges. Like, I keep lowering my voice because my kids are outside the door. So I had the big bag of chocolate oranges and I was like, you know what? I know that those are like $4 or $5 a piece. I had enough for like the whole family plus some extras. Let's just take those all off. I know that that's a quick one I can take off and I'll figure it out later. Especially because we were at Walmart about an hour and a half away from where we live. That's the closest Walmart to us. And so with chocolate oranges, I was like, I might be able to get those at like Safeway or the other grocery store at home, where some of those other gifts I would have had to go all the way back to Walmart to get if I was able to access my funds. So I had to put them back and we get out to the car and I'm feeling a little teary-eyed because I'm just really frustrated that like I couldn't access my funds. I hustled every which way I could to get every single penny to make Christmas happen for a family of seven. And I can't even afford chocolate oranges. Like, what is this? And of course, it's a small town, even though it's an hour and a half away. There was somebody who lives in our tiny little town that is, I don't know, maybe 1,000 people was standing in line behind me. So like it was super fun to stand there and be like pulling things off out of the cart. The cashier is rolling her eyes at me. Just it was not a fun experience. And we get in the car and my daughter goes, "It's okay, Mom. We don't need chocolate oranges. This just gives us an excuse to learn how to make them ourselves." And she's just so roll with the punches like that. And so we're driving home and we're talking about some of the different gifts I'd ordered for the boys. And something came up about a gift that she had really wanted. And I knew she'd really wanted it, but it felt like kind of an extravagant gift and it wasn't like a need or a necessity, which I'm going to get into some of that here in a little bit. And I laughed and I was like, no, like you guys are not getting gifts like that this year. And I mean, her immediate, like her whole face just fell and like she started to like well up, like, tears. She's 16, so she doesn't want to like sit there and cry, like, I'm not getting the toy I wanted. But she definitely, there was massive disappointment happening there. And I felt so bad for her because she works so hard for us. I got home, I told my husband about the day, and he was like, you have to go back for it. I don't care what it takes, you have to go back for it. Um, I was able to go to the bank, it was Monday then, and be able to pull some of my cash out and had to drive another hour and a half down there to get this last gift that she wanted and get home. And it's been, like I said, I keep lowering my voice because I don't know if she's standing outside the door. I really hope not because I want it to be a good surprise. So just kind of an idea of what a crazy like experience it can be, especially when you live so far away from everything. I mean, the concept of 2 day shipping with Amazon, we even live 2 hours away from an Amazon facility, and I can't get Amazon stuff. It's usually minimum a week before I get it because we're on a rural route, and if it's a weekend, forget it. And I don't know if this is nationwide or just locally, but Amazon has lost their contract with UPS. So everything has to go through our tiny post office. Like UPS actually brings it to the post office, but then they can't deliver it to our house. So our post office, like the other day, I heard that they had, and it was Black Friday weekend or something. They had 600 packages they had to sort through. And I know it's just gotten worse. They said something, they had like 6 pallets of packages come in, and the line is just ridiculously long. We're having, us, we have to drive 40 minutes to town to get each package. And then things are showing up that like weren't supposed to show up. And so I'm trying to rush back to town and get them. Like it's just been a disaster. And like I said, with my husband working 12s, he's in town, but he can't even leave to go get the packages. So I've been the back and forth one, and it's been a lot. So kind of back to the farm. I mean, that's all our craziness with trying to get ready for Christmas and farrowing. But I talked last week about how our last year's heifer has been stealing the milk from our family milk cow. So we caught her and we put it's like a weaning ring. It's like a bull ring, but it's got spikes on it in her nose. And it makes it where when she tries to nurse off her mom, her mom's gonna kick her off, which she's a year old. She doesn't need to be doing that. And then we calf share, so we separate the calf at night, where he's safe in the barn and stuff, and then we milk in the morning, and then he's on her the rest of the day. And when he gets a little older, we'll start supplementing him with some of her dairy grain, which has a lot of the same things in it that her milk does. And he's been doing great. But we like, because that heifer kept drinking off the cow, we were getting like, I think we got a cup of milk one day milking her. I mean, it was ridiculous. And so we separated them, and we have so much milk now that our entire milk fridge is full. We had a fridge freezer combo go out recently with a lot of our lamb in it, which was really sad. So we had to feed all the lamb to the dogs. And so I don't have another fridge to keep our milk in. And so our fridges and freezers, the main ones are in our mud room, which is not insulated. And so I've just been able to put milk on the shelves out there, and it's probably colder than the fridge. So it works, but it's been kind of crazy. So, th- and because of everything that's going on, I don't have time to process milk. We've been drinking it as fast as we can. We're making pies with it, and I don't have my certificate to be able to sell it yet. We had some friends that will use it, and so they came and got it. We're making some pies for Christmas that use a lot of milk. My husband likes chocolate pudding pies for Christmas. We do the homemade ones. And then after Christmas, I'm going to make a bunch of yogurt. My kids don't love the homemade raw yogurt, but I really don't care because I like it and I know it's really good for us. One of my kids loves it. He does, I don't even have to sweeten it and he's eating it. He's crazy. I like it at least sweetened, unless I can put fruit in it, then I don't mind if it's not sweetened. Sometimes of the year though, you just can't get fresh fruit and it's just not as good with the frozen and stuff. And then my other kids, even though they won't eat it plain like yogurt, they will use it to make pancakes or if they're baking or if it's not sweetened, they'll put it like in their eggs before they cook it and stuff. So they're still getting like all those good probiotics and things. It's just I need to get a lot of that processed and that'll help with our milk. And then we get some whey off of that and I'll put that in our compost. We do a couple of cheeses. I haven't quite found a cheese that I love, but I'm working on it. However, the last couple years, we haven't had a whole lot of milk, for various reasons. So I haven't been able to keep practicing that, but I have all my supplies. And then this year, we're also going to have our brown Swiss and milk soon. And that's going to be great because our Belfair, the one that we're milking now, her milk is like naturally homogenized, which means that the fat doesn't separate very well to give us a good cream line. We get a cream line with her. It's about an inch thick, maybe a little more on a good day. And we can use that for just cream. Like, we can skim it off and use it for heavy cream in like soups or in our coffee, but it's not heavy enough to make butter out of. So I'm really looking forward to our brown Swiss freshening, and then we can get some butter there. But last year, I finally tried mozzarella and I made mozzarella. It was the first time I'd actually made it. It actually formed and did all the right thing and tasted right. But I was excited making homemade mozzarella that I would get that more like softer mozzarella. And this was like so hard. It was almost like cheap string cheese, I guess is the best way to describe that. So I'm looking forward to trying that one again. I think with some practice, I'll be able to get that one down. Maybe watch some YouTube videos. I was reading out of a book. I hate YouTube videos. It's just not my thing. You guys are laughing because some of you are watching this on YouTube. And it's not so much that I hate the YouTube video part of it. It's that we have a crazy house and trying to watch anything, like my kids all have headphones. My husband has his hearing aids that he are Bluetooth as well. They decide they want to watch a video and they just watch a video. For me, I don't know what it is. My kids have like low jack. I even put one headphone in to watch a YouTube video or take one of my business courses or do a Zoom call, and like everybody in the family runs to within 5 feet of me and has something really dumb to tell me. It's like I said, it's like it sends out a siren or something. But I think this year I'm gonna have to just watch some YouTube videos and figure out how to do the cheeses that I want to do because I want to use this milk to the extent of everything that I can. And of course, when we have extra, we feed it to our pigs and stuff. We don't let any of it go to waste. And we're going to be selling some this year. So that's going to help as well. So on to the full topic of a homestead Christmas. I talked about what our craziness has looked like and trying to make sure Christmas is good for our kids. But I think that there's you know, I talked about this a little bit before with like the misconceptions of being a homesteader. I actually talked about that a few weeks ago on the podcast. And that's not really what this one's about, but I think that it has some bearing. I, th- a lot of people think that because you're homesteaders that you aren't buying any commercial products or that, your kids are all Laura Ingalls Wilder and get oranges for Christmas and are very excited, which my kids actually are excited for oranges in their stockings. But that's not the only thing they're getting. And we kind of, but what we do different than a lot of more conventional families, and I think that this is something that a lot of homesteaders do, maybe it's just us. No, I know others that do it, is sorry, our kids, we try to do the one need, one want, something to read. And then I just have this thing where you need something to do on Christmas. Because Christmas for us is the only day that I don't work. I'm not saying that there's other days that I don't end up not working because I'm sick or we have other things going on. But I usually on those days still end up like making sure I'm posting on social media and checking emails and that type of thing. On Christmas, I do not do that. I like, even if I have something else, don't have something else to do, like, the kids to do, like building something or coloring, like I'll bust out my colored pencils and color or get a book out that I've been wanting to read for a while. And I make dinner easy because Christmas is something that we don't do with our extended family. We just do it with our nuclear family, which is, me and my husband. And right now we have four kids in the house, out of our six. But one of them is going to be home for Christmas this year because his girlfriend is going out of town with family. So he's coming home. We're excited for that. He's actually coming up tonight. So we're making his favorite dinner, chili, homemade chili, um, and cornbread, which is real easy dinner for Christmas Eve. And then he'll be here all day tomorrow, which his little brothers are super excited. And so's my husband, because he's kind of missed him lately. Like that was his buddy. So we're excited to have him up and get to be together a little bit more of a family this year. But yeah, I try to make sure the kids have something to do on Christmas Day so that after all the presents are opened, like there's a lot of things that when you kind of get into that needs, wants, and something to read, even the something to read, I mean, sometimes, it's Christmas morning. You don't want to sit there and read a book. Sometimes you do, I do. But sometimes we get them books that, like my son's really interested in tractors. So I'll get him a tractor book. Like my teenage son, I'll get him, like the history of farm equipment type textbook. He might peruse that, but he's probably not going to want to sit there and read an entire textbook on tractors on Christmas Day. Like it's just not a thing. So I always try to make sure they have something to put together, some sort of art project, maybe a game that they can play together that evening. Um, so that's the something to play with. I actually, I tried to explain this to my husband and he never really got it. We'd been together for a few years and it was okay. Like every year I just kind of rolled with it. And then one year I was pregnant with our youngest. I had been on bed rest for months. I couldn't even like get out of my chair. I had very like kind of been very clear that I really want something to do on Christmas. Like or something that I can take and do for the next 6 weeks until I have this baby. Like I am bored and I need to feel like I'm doing something like, a craft project or some new yarn to crochet or one of those diamond art things or, it's just anything like something to keep me entertained. And that year for Christmas, I got a new pair of cowboy boots and a down pillow. Both wonderful gifts, not taking away from that. But my feet were so swollen, I couldn't even get on the cowboy boots. I don't even think I wore them for the first time for almost a year after I got them. And I mean, the pillow was nice. I took a nap that day with it, but I think my husband really saw like how disappointed and how bored I was that day, and that I'd really been asking for something to do because it wasn't just for Christmas Day. I wanted something to do for the next, like I said, next 6 weeks until I had him because I was pretty much on 100% bed rest. And what I could get up and do was really hard for me because I had blood clots in my lungs while I was pregnant with him. So I always try to make sure that happens. But with Homestead kids, I we don't I mean, we buy them a lot throughout the year, but we're not buying a bunch of toys and those types of things. It's just not our thing. We prefer our kids to use their imagination more. I'm not saying that we don't have a whole playroom with toys in it. We just make sure that it's a certain type of toys, like toys that they can build with, toys that, spark imagination. We don't have hardly like any character type toys, unless they were given by a family friend or the kids find it at like a consignment shop or something and they want to spend their $5 on it. We don't buy that type of stuff. So then come Christmas time, a lot of times, even their wants and needs kind of overlap. Like one of my sons really needs new muck boots. He does most of our barn work. He wears his muck boots every single day. He hasn't gotten a new pair in 2 years to the point that he has blown out one pair and stole his brother's pair that moved out so that he just had something to put on his feet. Those pair are blown out now. So he's been wearing a pair of rubber boots that he got for working concrete with a friend of ours, and they are not warm enough for the winter. So he's been asking for rubber boots or, new muck boots, like the Arctic neoprene ones for weeks now. I really couldn't afford them, but he needed those and wanted those. So I made sure that those happened this year. And that's what ends up happening a lot with Homestead kids is we don't want to go overboard on Christmas, but we want Christmas to be special. So a lot of times what they're getting is the things that they need to be homesteaders for the next year. And then we make sure that there's, some toys and stuff in there too, or, things that they want. Like I say toys, I have some teenagers, so they're not getting too many toys on that one. Uh, but it's hard because we run seasonal businesses. The curriculum company, I mean, people buy their curriculum spring, summer, a little bit in the fall, and then it mellows out for the year. I have other products I sell and coaching, business coaching that I do, and that, keeps me going. I do some local business coaching, getting people set up. I do a lot of that in the springtime because people are wanting to make changes or they're going into their first year of homesteading. So, if you live in North Idaho and you need business coaching, I actually do on-farm business coaching. So be sure and reach out to me for that. It's a little different than what I have online. You have to reach out to me and like personally. Um, but then we also have the pork business, which yes, I sell a lot of pork this time of year, but we're booming like busy with the pork business like the rest of the year. And so it's kind of weird having a seasonal business like that. So come Christmas, some of the stuff we've saved up for, we've bought have been things like muck boots. And so then I just save up to buy something that, like the kids are putting on their Christmas list. And sometimes I don't get those until 2 weeks before Christmas. And heck, sometimes I don't have the money to buy those things until 2 weeks before Christmas. So, like I said, a lot of people, they imagine we light our whole house by candlelight and give our kids oranges for Christmas. And it's just not the case. And, I know as homesteaders, we're trying to not recreate, create our own new traditions. Traditions that aren't based on consumerism, traditions that are based around our food and family and our homes, and make that special and magical for our children. But at the same time, we have the things that made Christmas special and magical for us. And I think that we're going to be keeping some of those in the mix, things like the chocolate oranges. That really made Christmas for me as a kid. Like that's the flavor of Christmas, the smell of Christmas for me. And so not having those, I just don't think, it's a consumer product, but maybe that's our modern day Laura Ingalls Wilder orange. The kids get the things they need and they get a couple things they want, but they really look forward to their chocolate orange. So those are that's what Christmas looks like as far as our gift giving for our children. Now, gifts for friends and family. Every year we do a ton of baking and candy making. That's where our homestead stuff comes in. And we're able to use, our farm eggs and farm milk and bake the cookies and make the candies and we wrap them in brown paper with twine and we deliver those all out. We didn't do as much of it this year, just there hasn't been the time, but we do have a couple of close family friends that I packed them up a really nice box that had um I did ham hocks, dried beans, and like our ham hocks from our farm, dried beans, um Cajun seasoning and onion, and like I made my homemade cornmeal dry mix or cornbread dry mix, and then I added in a dozen eggs and a quart of raw milk, and then a can of sliced apples. And I delivered that all like a couple days before Christmas with the recipe because I was like, how many people are busy trying to get ready for Christmas? Let me take them a farm fresh meal that they can throw in the crock pot and walk away. And also, if they have family in town, they can kind of, where this is fresh pork, fresh farm eggs, raw milk, like they kind of get that whole experience without having to put all the work into it. And so I feel like that was a special gift for some of my friends, and I think they appreciated it. Maybe they were like, "Why is Kody bringing us groceries? We're not poor." But my thought was, let me like I know how crazy it is being a mom right before Christmas. Let me bring you something really special. And so that's what we did for the close family friends. We don't have a lot of family in the area, and the ones that we do, there's some there's some distance there, and for good reason. And then even some of the ones that are out of the area, we have some distance for good reason. And I think there's a lot of people in our position that feel the same way. I talked to a lot of homesteaders, homeschoolers. Um, I don't know. Some people say I'm a millennial, some people say I'm a Gen X. I'm not gonna tell you when I was born, but it's right in that cusp. My husband's in the same. But we have this conversation that like we've actually a lot of us have separated ourselves from our parents or family because they don't understand the choices that we're making in our lives when we're kind of going more traditional and they were taught to, push for the modern. And even though they don't see it, it was like kind of that baby boomer generation. It was all, the race to the moon and new technology and modern contraptions. And even though they seem really outdated, they were pushed to go modern. And we're going, hey, I think it went too far. And they don't understand our take on that. So just something that I hear the story a lot that people are separating themselves from family to be able to provide the traditions and lifestyle that they want for their children and their future generations. Um, now for my spouse, there's years we don't even get each other anything. And there's years that we'll save up and buy something that we both want. There's years like this year, we saved up a little bit, split it, and bought each other gifts. So I'm excited for what my husband's getting. It's things he wanted. And like one thing that he really like wants slash needs, and then one thing that he's been talking about wanting, but I don't think he'd ever actually spend the money unless like he was jump started. And so maybe I'll tell you guys about that next week. I don't think he listens to my podcast, but he is on call for a 12-hour shift that's pretty boring. So who knows? He might listen to it. I kind of doubt it, but um, so I'll tell you guys about that next week in the season 5 finale. Kind of just wrap up for the end of the year. I think I'm gonna take a couple weeks off, just kind of restart myself before I start season 6 sometime in January. Um, so just a little bit about our Christmas morning routine and our dinner and so our kids, they have to go feed first. Like, I don't care if it's Christmas, you're feeding before you get your Christmas presents. And that's just how it has to be. Like these animals need to come first. And then while they're going to feed, like my husband and I kind of start breakfast. We always do pigs in a blanket, which is absolutely a commercial food because we get the Pillsbury croissant rolls, but that was one of the ones that was a tradition in my family. And yeah, Christmas doesn't feel the same without it, where for him, it's the chocolate pudding pies that I make for him every year. Sadly, his is more Homestead than mine, but I'm okay with that because I really like my pigs in a blanket and orange juice. And so then the kids come back from feeding and we have our breakfast while we open our stockings and chat and have our coffee and just kind of wake up for the morning. That also leaves a little bit of a buffer if we do have family coming to visit. Sometimes we don't, but sometimes we do. And then we go ahead and open our gifts. After that, like I said, I don't do anything. That is my day off. It's the only day of the year I take off. I will be doing some food prep today to make sure that Um, it's all easy for my husband to just kind of finish up. Um, Now for Thanksgiving for me, because there's not the gifts and there's not the magic and there's all those other things, it is just about dinner and hanging out with friends and family. I go all out. That is a 100% homestead meal completely from scratch. I mean, I'm making broth 3, 4 days before. That's my big homestead meal. For Christmas, we're using one of our hams. I bought some rolls. I didn't feel like making bread on Christmas Day, and I had too much going on today with my husband, working to be able to make some rolls myself. We're gonna do sweet potato casserole. I bought the sweet potatoes. Um, my daughter wanted Brussels sprouts like wrapped in bacon, but we're using our bacon for it, so I guess that counts. And then I'm doing the homemade pies for my husband, which I'll do those today. So I mean that's it, it's one of those ones where, like I said, it's what works for us. And I'm starting to see a lot of the really aesthetic um, Christmases on Instagram. And then for those of you that are homesteading, whether you've been doing it for 1 year and 10 years, don't see those and feel like you're not doing it good enough because you don't have a ton of candles lit and wearing a dress and baking bread and mixing in pine boughs into your bread. And I, I don't even know. Like don't feel like you're doing it wrong if it makes you happy. Um, so yeah, like I said, we just kind of spend the rest of our day hanging out. We play games, we enjoy ourselves, we enjoy our family, and think about maybe traditions for the coming years. And then I actually, one of my favorite days of the year is the day after Christmas, because even though for a lot of people, New Year's is like when you start everything fresh, for me, I kind of take that week in between Christmas and New Year's, or a few days after New Year's, whatever works, however the weekends fall and stuff. And I just reset my life. I clean my office, I write my yearly schedule on a big calendar board. For those of you who watch this on YouTube, you can see my calendar board in the background. I write my travel schedule, my product launch schedule, holidays, birthdays, that type of thing on there. So I have that quick glance all the time, and so does the family. They can come in and see what my travel schedule is. I put together my planner for the year. I do my seed inventory. I set my goals. I write them all out and like put them on my cork board or something. It's a huge reset time for me, and I really really love that time. Like I said, I think December 26th is my like New Year's Day. Like that's when I start fresh for the year. So I'll be doing some posting on that and what it looks like on Instagram and in my newsletters and blog. I've been doing a lot with the blog lately. Just talking to people about how to do like a homestead reset, starting your businesses for the spring. I have some business courses and guides and coaching on my site. I don't just do business coaching. I do regular homestead coaching, just setting yourself up for for not even a profitable homestead, but just a functioning homestead. A few other things like with that, I help with depredation plans, food safety plans, HACCP plans, if you're familiar with those and need them for some sort of food processing that you're doing. Um, I help people get set up with their homeschools. I help people with, like family management type stuff, budgeting, meal planning. And what I do that mainly in the form of like strategy calls. So, we do a strategy call for an hour. I take lots of notes. I do the research for you. I either put a business plan or a homestead plan in place. I follow up with you. And then if we want to continue, if you want that accountability for extended time, then we put that into place. So, um, based on what your needs are. So, if I'm just checking in with you once a month on your budget, it's going to be a lot cheaper than if I'm helping you write food safety plans to launch a business. So, um, just kind of keep those in mind as you're starting some of your homestead endeavors. I also offer gift cards. So if you know somebody who's, wanting to start homesteading, would enjoy my homeschool curriculum, um, would like business coaching, that's a really, great gift to give them. Because a lot of times people don't want to do those things for themselves. And so that's a really great way. The gift certificate is printable. So you can print it out and, give it to them for Christmas or something. One last thing I just want to bring up is I have a friend who is an author. She's been on my podcast a couple of times. I've been on hers. Um, her name is Dorinda Wilson. She's an author, a speaker, inspirational homesteader or homeschooler, just one of the most wonderful women I've ever met. I'll link a couple of the podcasts that we did together on in the show notes, but she was recently diagnosed with a I can never say it, metastasized cancer. It's her story to tell. So if you go to her Instagram, there's stuff there on her health updates and that her kids are posting. It may not be good. And anyways, it's not a GoFundMe, it's a different type of charitable site. They're trying to raise a little bit of money to cover medical costs that aren't covered by insurance, or costs for, her husband to drive back and forth, or someone to stay in a hotel near the hospital with her and stuff. If anybody has it in their hearts this holiday to donate to her, like I said, she's probably most wonderful, kind, giving, inspirational Christian woman that I know. And um, I just hate to see her and her family going through this. So I'll link all that information in the show notes if you'd like to go give her some love and support and pray for her. And like I said, if you have it in your heart to donate a little, that would be wonderful too. So I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas and that you enjoy your homesteads, your homeschools, and that you're ready to take on this next week with me of resetting our lives. Feel free and reach out. I would love to hear your family traditions for Christmas on the homestead. I would love to hear what you're resetting for the new year, what your business goals are, what your homestead goals are. And if you have any requests of things that you want me to cover on the podcast or research for you, um, feel free and reach out. Let's see if I can't get it on the podcast for you, write a blog about it, or help you individually. You can, for the podcast, you can email hello@thehomesteadeducation.com, or you can always find me on Instagram. It was great chatting with you guys today, and I hope you all have a Merry Christmas. Thank you for joining me today at the Homestead Education, and I hope that I have given you something to think about this week. To help others find me, please comment and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. You can also follow me on Facebook at the Homestead Education and Instagram at Homestead_education. Do you have questions that you would like answered or just want to say hi? Please email me at hello@thehomesteadeducation.com. Until next time, keep growing.